LeBron James. And this man, if you ask me, he has to have a genius tax strategist behind him because this guy does, at least from the outside, everything right.
He does.
Can you please lay out for the people a couple genius ways that LeBron is able to have massive tax write-offs? Yep. We can start with like his school. I want to say it's in Akron, I think, back home.
Yeah.
Or in Ohio somewhere.
Yep. Yeah. So he started a private foundation called LeBron James Foundation, or it might be LeBron James Family Foundation. But what that allows him to do is he creates his own charity, then he donates his salary from the Lakers or the Cavs, wherever he was, which becomes a write-off for donating to himself, and then he funded a school in his neighborhood that he always wanted. Two, what he also does, I'm sure he donates massive amounts to the LeBron James Foundation, which is private, means you can't see it, who's donating what. And then he funds his son's AAU team, which then basically becomes, he gets a write-off for funding his son's AAU team to travel all around the world. And obviously his son, Bronny James, McDonald's All-American, top prospect who just went out
to USC, I believe.
USC.
Yeah, horns down, is that what that was? Well, close enough? I know, victory down.
Yep, they do this for victory, but we don't like them, so.
We?
Did you become a Trojan fan?
No, I went to Oregon State. Go Beavers.
So, okay, I'm just making sure. Just making sure.
Well, I mean, hey, when you move from, the Pac-12 to like the Mountain West Division III, as Oregon State's about to do, you got to root for somebody big, I guess. No, I'm not a Trojan fan. You know that.
All right. But, yeah, so back to LeBron. He donates a massive amount of money to his own charity, and then that charity disperses it or builds schools and all this other stuff. Another thing that he does is that he was recently did, not the Looney Tunes, what did he do? Space Jam. So his production company built that. So now he gets to write off all the dinners that he has with movie directors because that's business, right? It just happens to be real. And I'm just making this up. If he went out,
and he's an actor as well, in it as well.
He was in another movie with
Trainwreck with Amy Schumer, right?
Yeah, so he
was playing himself, but like as a civilian, like not a basketball player, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so he started a movie company, which now that also turns into a ton of deductions. His home now becomes a write-off because I'm sure he's got a massive home office with a bunch of cool memorabilia that he bought and paid for, which is also another tax deduction. I'm sure he probably pays some NIL money to his kid Bronny, who's also one of now the most valuable high school NIL, or I might have said that wrong, but he makes a ton of money through name, image, and likeness, which I'm sure LeBron now gets a write-off for paying Bronny, and then Bronny now has a bunch of write-offs. His trainers and all that stuff also potentially could be a tax write-off, depending on if you're doing it right. So that also is, and just all kinds of stuff.
Out of curiosity, who do you think is who was a bigger prospect, Bronny James or Kendall and Kylie coming out of Sierra Canyon?
Kylie.
Kylie for sure. Not even close.
Shout out Kylie.
Ran away with it.
Yep. Shout out Tyga.
Red shirtner, as Charlamagne said.
Yeah. Shout out Tyga.
But yeah, so LeBron, obviously, like a lot of athletes now are a lot savvier off the court and whatnot.
Yeah, they are.
And obviously, one would imagine there's a team behind him, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned that he has the family foundation, or obviously we're not his strategist, so we're assuming from the outside, but this is how it works. He has a foundation. He's able to take all these deductions when he donates to it, and then basically, since he's in control of the foundation, he's still using the money how he wants.
It just happens to be a portion goes to his kid. Bronny and Bryce, they have their own travel or AAU basketball teams that I would imagine he funds with them, which is tax deductible because that's, I would assume, his most AAU teams are set up as nonprofits. I'm sure that's what he's doing.
And it makes sense. He's a basketball player. He loves basketball.
Yeah.
He wants to give back to kids, just kind of like how he grew up. So it makes it it all makes sense in terms of, yes, there are tax breaks, but for him as an individual, to have this foundation, it makes sense. Because that's one of the big things we always tell clients is, at least for a foundation, are you philanthropic? Because if not...
Yeah, I would never tell you to do that, but LeBron is. He grew up poor, for lack of a better term. He grew up poor, and he wants to give chances to other kids, so he should be able to take tax advantages and tax breaks for that. Other stuff that he does, all of his shoes that he has, now shoes become a write-off because I would assume he's got a small ownership in Nike. I'm sure he's got a management company, the LeBron James management company, that also has to buy shoes, test them, so that. Same thing with all his workout gear. What did he say? He spends like $1 million on his body a year or something like that.
I have never heard that. That seems low to me, honestly.
Yeah, he's got like the sleep
like the
chambers,
hyperbaric chamber,
like his nutritionist, his trainers, like that's what.
Yeah,
it's like you said, it's probably even more.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's even more
with inflation these days.
Yeah,
whew.
Yeah, and I mean obviously he's still lighting it up at 38, like maybe one of the best players in the league, still lighting it up, not slowing down at all. So yeah, he's been able to create a business around what he loves, which is basketball, and then he's also set himself up for afterlife. He's at all these businesses like the shop, not underrated. What Undefeated, is that what it's called? Or
is he? I didn't know if he was a part of that.
Yeah, he owns part of it, and then he may or may not own a sports agency. We're not sure. He says he doesn't, but who really knows?
Well, that ankle dry the minute he'll cross that last T and dot that last I right after he retires, right?
But yeah, I would assume he's going to go into some type of basketball management when he's done, whether it's owning a team, whether it's... Well, that's another one. He's talked about wanting to own a team. When he owns a team, now like all the trips to other NBA games are deductible, flights there, plane flights, private jets, all this stuff. So yeah, he's set him up really well, and if you guys can do this, anybody can do this. You don't have to buy teams.
So that was going to be my next question is, like, obviously we all, love, or people love sports, people love celebrities and all that. So my question to you is, as like the everyday Joe, let's say I have a business, how much money do I need to make in order to do a foundation? Like, do I need millions? If I have a W-2 job, do I need millions like LeBron? Like, how can I practically take advantage of this?
Yeah, you can start a private foundation, which is something that we do. We actually got a client recently because we were able to set that up for them. And, not that this video, but they heard us talk about this and they're like, yeah, we want to sign this. So if you guys are looking, peep this right now. You can start a private foundation. I don't know what it would cost because everybody's going to be a little different, but I would say a good rule of thumb is you could start one for probably between $5,000 and $10,000. Now you might be saying, I'm an everyday Joe, I don't know if I can do that. Where there's a will, there's a way. You're going to do it if you want. And here's how a practical way how you do it. We all have kids, we all have nephews that play Little League Baseball, Little League Basketball, Pop Warner. Here's what you do. If I were to start the JT Pells Family Baseball Foundation, making it up, right? My nephews play Little League Baseball. You know what? I'm going to donate money to my own foundation and then donate it to their Little League teams. Now that's a tax deduction. Instead of like buying them baseball bats, instead of like personally, I set up a foundation, donate some money to it, start it up, get that tax deduction, and then out of that, I just buy baseball bats for kids. Some of them just happen to be my nephews.
And so with that, in LeBron's example, he's got millions to fly the team around for travel and stuff like that.
Right.
But for me, like the average Joe, if I just did like $1,000, I set up everything and I did like $1,000 a month. Entry fees to Little League tournaments, a couple bats for the team to share, helmets. Like, is that possible as well? Just basically a smaller scale?
Yeah, that's why I said exactly, your nephew's Little League team or your son or daughter or whatever. It doesn't have to be Little League, we're just using an example. But yeah, that's an easy way of how somebody could make their children or somebody they know, loved ones, Little League, and use sports deductible. Like you said, pay for the travel, the entry fees, the bats, the equipment, the shoes, whatever they have. So that's an easy one that anybody can do.
Okay. Well, JT Pells, the tax quarterback, if somebody wants to start a foundation, if they just want like tax knowledge, how can they find you? Do they call you directly with your personal cell phone? I know you love that. Or is there like an email list? How do they contact you?
Yeah, you can call me at 221-8...
281-330-8004, Mike Jones.
Yeah, so Sebastian, put that on the screen. 281-330-8004. If you're of a certain age, you will know what that number is. But in reality, though, you're going to want to click on the link below in the description. It's one to get on our email list. That's the best way that we can stay in touch with you because obviously through YouTube, through Instagram algorithms, we don't know who sees what, who comments on what. But if you can join our email list, you get direct access to us. And you're going to know every day, I think we send them out, 3 times a week?
3 times a week right now, yeah.
3 times a week. There's emails like all different tax tips and just funny stories. So we know that's how we can touch all our clients.
All right.
And potentials.
JT Pells, the tax quarterback, thank you.
You got it.